Hello, welcome back to Send Them Off. Welcome if you're joining us for the first time. I only said that once so far this series.
But the first time you said that, yeah.
No, that's twice, actually.
I've ruined your intro.
You've ruined it now, Al, again. It makes a change. It's not me ruining it. Anyway, our next one, I don't know what number it is, but we're moving down to London today. I think it's South London, but I'm not sure because my geography is horrific. And we are, of course, talking about Crystal Palace. Joining me, as always, is, you've heard him already, my ever-present podcasting partner, Alex. How are you doing?
You've heard me, but it'd be rude not to do the intro. You got to do the intro. But yeah, we're joined today by Diyar from the
Diyar.
Sorry.
Don't worry, it happens. You're not the only one. You're not the only one.
Do you know the funny thing about this is, right? Is we before I specifically asked Diyar, how do you want to be introduced?
Yeah.
And he told me.
And I was like, oh yeah, Diyar. And then for some reason I slipped a little N in there. But
it happens all the time. I'm not great with names as well. So, it happens. I'm with you there. Mispronounce my name, it's fine.
Do you know the worst part about it is, though, when I've been like emailing people to come on this, like a lot of them like yours was fine because your name was on the email, but a lot of them just are the podcast name. And I'm like, I don't know who's turning up. I don't know if there's more than one of them. I don't know anything. Anyway, Diyar, you're from Back of the Nest podcast.
Yes.
The
cracking name, by the way. Cracking name.
Fantastic
I like that name.
Yeah, we worked hard for it. We worked hard for the name. That was like the hardest part about it, just setting up the name, because we were rebranded after with a different name, and then afterwards we realized, you know what, it's time to modernize everything. So I thought, Back of the Nest is a little tongue in cheek, it's a nice little name. I don't take any credit for it. It's the other guys at Back of the Nest that do. But yeah, it is a nice little name.
You could, to be fair, right? You could have taken all the credit on this podcast.
I could have, yeah, but look,
taken it all. Clearly, very humble. Shall we start with Palace? Usually we start with last season, but I'm so excited to talk about your transfer business. So excited because you have signed someone who, as I mentioned before we came on, holds a very, very special place in the heart of everybody down here in South Wales on the white side,
on the white and black side,
the black and white side. It is Mark Guéhi.
Yes.
How do you say that down in London? How do you say his name?
I was going to ask you, how do you say it? Because I don't want to mispronounce his name.
We all say it differently.
So I say Mark Guéhi. Yeah, as well, like Mark Guéhi.
So we've got three different pronunciations here. So we've got Guéhi, and
I've said all season, I've been calling him Mark Guy.
Mark Guy. Nah, that's just wrong.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's wrong.
Yeah. I'm glad we're all agreeing.
See, I get the trend that's going on there. You mispronounce my name, and names ain't the greatest thing for you.
He sussed me.
Exactly. So it's definitely not on that.
The ironic thing is Alex has got a Romanian name.
I'm half Romanian, and I should be able to do the names. But there we are.
No, but Mark Guéhi or Guy, however you say
not
it.
Guy.
Anything but Guy. What are your thoughts? Because for me, 20 million, I haven't watched him for 2 seasons now, or season and a half. 20 million is a steal. Absolutely
fantastic signing. Look, with Palace, I know you said that you want to start with a new season, but looking at last season, we conceded lots of goals, and we've got an aging squad just in general. Signing him from Swansea, not from Swansea, well, he was at Swansea, and signing him from Chelsea, I think it's just a big statement on where the club's headed. You saw it, we moved on from Roy Hodgson, and it links back to the manager. I guess we'll talk about him in more detail, Patrick Vieira, but talk about Mark Guéhi in particular. He's good on the ball. Look, that's what we need at this club, because right now we've got how do I say it? We've had old school centre backs in terms of they're good at defending, but not that great on the ball. We had one player.
Tompkins, yeah,
exactly.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, Saka was solid, but the guy who played like 1 in every 35 games, like he wasn't fit. He just couldn't be fit, and he left us. So we needed ball playing defenders, and in the 2 games that he's played, I watched him yesterday as well. He's just so comfortable. He plays a game at his own pace. And that's what you need in a Premier League, because you're going to be under pressure. So I love that signing. And we got another centre-back in today as well, Joachim Andersen, 5-year deals. All the signings that we're getting is 5-year deals, and it just shows the direction that we're going in.
Yeah.
What a sign. Honestly, I cannot speak highly. You've got such a player on your hands in Marquis. Honestly.
You see a smile on my face.
Obviously, all of us boys, like in our sort of group chat, we're all Swansea fans. And with all due respect to Palace, we were very, very surprised when he went to Palace because
I was convinced he was going to stay at Chelsea.
Yeah, we thought he was good. He's good enough to play at Chelsea in our eyes. He was head and shoulders the best centre back in the Championship last year.
But that's what happens though with Chelsea. Look how many quality players they've got. You can only field 11, and you can only field so many on the bench. It's turned into a business for them. So they were willing because it's not cheap as well. I mean, he done great at Swansea, but that's also in the Championship. So he has to prove himself at the top level. Yeah. And £20 million, 18 million pounds, I think that's a fair price for him. Because it's still going to be a gamble, but it's a gamble that I'm willing to. Well, I love it, and also the club loves it as well. You know, we gave him a 5-year contract. We believe in this. We believe that he can grow in the future, and also he's from South London. So it's a player that's technically coming back home. They talk about coming back home with, you saw Man United. They signed Sancho, and he's home when his home is in Camberwell in South London. Yeah. Exactly. But he's genuinely at home. Exactly. He's genuinely at home. So that's the positive thing about it. He's where he grew up in. It's his local club. I doubt he supported Palace, I'll be honest with you. But you know, he knows what's required from him, and I'm just excited.
Yeah. The other thing, you've gone to the Championship a couple of times. Michael Olise, 8 million for Olise is that. Now that is a steal. That is a real bargain. He's quality. Obviously we watched him a lot in the Championship last year, being Swans fans, and quality player. You've really got yourselves. Whoever's on recruitment for you guys this summer,
there's some serious what's the word, direction going on.
Yeah, we're not playing any games. No, I'll tell you that. We're not playing any games. And look, we, as weird as it might sound, we deserve this as fans. Because as a neutral, you probably wouldn't know what's going on week in, week out. In the last 2 to 3 years, especially last season, it came to a point, that I didn't want to watch Palace. Like, I love Palace. We've had so many worse times. But under Roy Hodgson last year, it was just awful. Like, we had 1 shot on target or 2 shots on target, and we just couldn't do anything. We had one of the oldest squads in the Premier League. We had Roy Hodgson. So all these signings, they were there in the line. Like, we're not that surprised because we needed to do this to not get relegated. We're reaching that point as a football club where, what is our direction? Are we just looking to stay up? Because when that happens, then there's a massive chance that one season everything goes wrong and you just go down, and then you end up in the Championship and you struggle. So this season, Olise is a great player for Reading, but we were linked with him for about a year or two. And as soon as Patrick Vieira comes in, 2 days after, he's at the club. Now, I don't think that's a coincidence. First of all, the club wanted him for ages, but also the player. It shows Patrick Vieira, you might not think he's a great manager in terms of what he's done in the past, but he's still unproven. But he can get these big youngsters into the football club because he is Patrick Vieira of Arsenal. So it speaks volumes, and he's going to be another player if he stays fit, hopefully, because he's already injured, which is a bit annoying, to be fair. If he stays fit, £8 million. What is £8 million to a Premier League club? What is that? That's nothing. You can take that gamble, and he's proven himself. I think we're building a Championship all-time 11. Like, we're trying to just build up all the youngsters of Championship and just combine them together, and hopefully they'll work in as well. Eze as well. He's brilliant. I love him. I love him. The thing about him, he's injured as well. His Achilles is gone, which he's going to be out for a long period of time. But all these signings, at least he's going to be a great one. I really do think that, because he's shown himself in the Championship, and if he's anything like Eze, then I'm not really worried about him making this step up to the Premier League. £8 million, no pressure.
I'm not going to lie. From what I've seen in the Championship over the last few seasons, I think Olise is a better player than Eberechi Eze. I think in the Championship, anyway. I can't speak, obviously,
the Championship, it's a physical league, but
it is
as well. And he was quality, to be fair. He was, like, obviously, Eze's Eze, but yeah, I think you've the signings. I can't get over the signings.
Do you know what I think has been? I think what's made the signings even better business is the fact that I think Palace have got rid of more deadwood than anybody in the Premier League.
That's it.
Like, I think the two clubs who needed the deadwood out the most are Palace and Arsenal. Personally, this season, Arsenal are on the way to doing it. Like, they're not moving.
There's a few other problems at Arsenal.
Palace, I feel like a lot of the problems as an outsider. And I know you said obviously there's a lot going on week to week, but for me, a lot of the problem was the likes of, with all due respect, Scott Dan, like Sacco, Klein, Cahill. I look at that squad and it's so uninspiring. And then you get rid of them and you bring in Gurhey, Anderson. Like there seems to be a new lease of life about Palace, especially with Vieira as well. Like I wouldn't
I
be
think
surprised.
There's a total change of ethos at Palace.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Yeah, it's a rebuilding phase. The club are not shy about it. They've even said it, and as a fan base, we're saying as well, it's a whole different change to it. It's like we've been in the Premier League for 8 years, and you see clubs that just get promoted like Villa, Leeds, and of course, some of these clubs have bigger resources than Palace. But for the 8 years, all we've got, apart from your typical managers of Sam Allardyce, Alan Pardew, and Tony Pulis, the only manager that really stood out was Frank de Boer, and he only stayed for 4 days. Not 4 days, but 4 games.
Yeah.
So, like, we haven't had this ambitious period. And I understand it because at the end of the day, this is a business. If Palace go down, then it's going to have massive repercussions to the whole club, to the whole community as well, because there'll be jobs lost. And also, you had all these players that you talked about, the Sackos, and we've got players that are still at the club that are earning lots of money, and it's going to be hard to balance the books. So I understood where the club was coming from, but this was needed. We need this rebuilding phase, and there's lots of names mentioned. You mentioned Gary Cahill. There's just players like Patrick Van Aanholt. Look, lots of people are saying, why on earth did they release him? But genuinely, he's 30 years old, but he needs Gary Cahill next to him to defend. And we conceded so many goals from him. So he's another player that was a liability that's gone. Andros Townsend, he's turning 31. He went to Everton, which is a bit weird because I expected them to be a bit more ambitious. But all these players, I don't think any of them are younger than 30. It might be Nathaniel Klein, who's still at the club. He hasn't actually left. But all these players are 30 plus. So we've actually, I think, took off around £500,000 to £600,000 of the wage. So that's how we can sign all these players. We've entered that phase. Going to be risky, but it's worth the trial because we've been at that position for 8 years now of doing absolutely nothing other than stay up.
I felt like Palace, without a revamp, we're in danger of becoming a sort of Burnley, like in terms of where like
you don't want to be Burnley.
They could go down. Like they could go down. There's always about 3 weeks every year where people say, "Oh, Burnley could go down," but they never actually go down. And like
there was
stagnant.
There's been times I've been watching, like towards the end of the season, I've been watching Palace, and I've just seen them almost mirror Swansea, like when we were up there. And I think the season we went down, I don't know if Palace stayed up at our expense or something like that. Or was it? I can't remember. But
I think it was Southampton.
It could have been Southampton. But yeah, they just sort of mirrored a club who were sort of always that sort of game away from going down, or that, it could be that season, or it all depends if there's any clubs worse than them. But no, it's really good to see them sort of invest in this way.
And also, don't get me wrong, we're talking about all these signings, but this could go horribly wrong. There is that risk. Look, Palace fans as well, I think that as a collective, as a fan base, we were very strong together last season for the wrong causes in terms of we wanted Hodgson out. It was that bad that no one really opposed it. But there was a small portion of fans who were saying, well, Hodgson will keep in the Premier League. And that's what we ideally need. So there are small fan base. There's a small, group of fans who are still 50-50 in terms of Vieira. They like what they're seeing, but they still wanted, Roy Hodgson to stay at the club. But now they're gone. I guess they'll start supporting him. But as I said, this could go horribly wrong. We could get relegated. But as a fan, as weird as it might sound, I don't mind us to have a try and get relegated like that, rather than just stay at the same position and just get relegated for not being ambitious. With this stage, Patrick Vieira, he's unproven in the Premier League. All these players, they're great. They were great in the Championship, but they're still unproven. So there's a chance that this goes horribly wrong. But at least we can say we tried. We tried as a football club to try and build something, and it didn't happen. But it's not. We won't be the only club that goes down from it. But yes, it's the ambition that's the most important thing about it. We might finish 20th. You never know. We might finish 20th, and it might be worse than Roy Hodgson. But at least we're trying.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. And people who obviously there's going to be fans who would want Roy Hodgson. It was the same with Arsenal with Wenger in it, but Roy Hodgson was no spring chicken, and he wasn't going to go on forever. And there was always going to come a time where he was going to, throw the towel in. And I do think signing a player like a manager like Patrick Vieira, I think it sort of had the same sort of scent as Lampard when he went to Chelsea. Like he could attract those kind of players and sort of bring the youth up. So yeah, personally, I don't see the risk being as big as, obviously as a Palace fan, you're going to see it, differently. But as an outsider, I don't see it being that big of a risk at all, the players you signed, because there's some quality, some real quality.
I think on paper, particularly, there are far, far worse teams on paper than your squad that I'm looking at here. I mean, Burnley have done nothing this summer, more or less.
They'll still stay up.
Yeah.
They'll still stay up. I don't know how it happens, but there'll be 3 worse teams than Burnley. But jokes aside, they have stayed up all along. But if you're just talking about Burnley, I'm not too sure what's going to happen there. They've got new owners. They're trying something new, but there's only so much you can do with that squad. Maybe Sean Dash does it again. It takes
time, though, doesn't it? Like, a rebuild takes time. Like, I'm looking at your first 5 fixtures now, and they're horrific. They're absolutely horrific.
They're not nice.
Chelsea, Brentford, West Ham, Tottenham, Liverpool. I mean, there is a real chance you could come out with 1, 3, or even 0 points from those 5. Yeah. And I think it's a case of not panicking as an outsider. That's what I'd say, because like, it's such a new squad, new manager, really tough start. Like, you're not going to pick up 5 wins out of 5. You're not. Realistically.
And I'd hate to see another Frank de Boer, to be honest with you, and just don't get off to a good start and then say, all right, screw it, and get Alan Pardew and say, okay.
No, I don't think that will happen. The reason for that is with Frank de Boer, it was just more than Frank de Boer being a manager and losing 3 or 4 games. I think Darren Ambrose said it as well on Talk Sport. He was talking about it, saying how, and some of us knew this in the fan base as well. There were problems with the players as well. Some of the players just didn't buy into him. He tried to play some midfielders just in defense, and he tried to go crazy about it. We didn't have the squad to play the type of football that Frank de Boer wanted. We didn't go and back him as much as we should have. We brought in players, don't get me wrong. We brought in Patrick Bamford and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, but we didn't back him enough. The squad that we had wasn't built for a Frank de Boer type thing, and also with the troubles that he had with players, it just didn't add up. That's why he got the sack. With Patrick Vieira, there seems like there's a connection there with C. Parish. And C. Parish wouldn't really sack him after 4 or 5 games, unless something drastic happens. It's not going to happen. That's why we're backing him. I feel like the club are genuinely going to give him time, which is good to see, because as I said, the rebuild is not only one summer job. It will take 2-3 summers, or it might take, the January window as well. There'll still be players who are going to leave that we need to replace. So it's a process that you have to really trust. And right now, with the feeling that I'm getting from the club, it's like they are going to stick with Patrick Vieira, even if he loses 4 or 5 games. There's none of that worry. Well, maybe after 23 games, if you only won 2 games, then yes, he'll get a sack. Rightly so. But it wouldn't be anything like Frank de Boer.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
You must be absolutely sick if you're in it. But
we're talking about Frank de Boer. To be fair, is Frank de Boer even a good manager? He did get the sack after 4 games.
He was all right.
Is he a good manager? Wherever he's gone, apart from him being Frank de Boer, with in his playing career, wherever he's gone, he hasn't really done much. I've seen him with the Netherlands side. I've seen at Palace. I've seen Atalanta. Also, before coming to Palace at Inter Milan, he was there for 80 days as well. So there's clearly something wrong with this man. It wasn't just Palace. So it wasn't just Palace, because look at all the other jobs. He's never really stayed on for a long period of time. Yeah. So maybe the Frank de Boer thing was a blessing in a way, because we didn't score in all them games. And Roy Hodgson came in and we were scoreless in 7 games. In the first season, he done great. He kept us up and was so comfortable. So maybe it wasn't the worst call about it. And also there was stuff going on in the background with Frank de Boer regarding some players playing out of position. So yeah, I feel like looking at it in hindsight, we might have pulled the trigger at the right time. If we didn't, then right now we might even not be a Premier League club.
Who knows, innit? Who knows? So finished 14th last year. Where do you reckon you'll finish this year?
This year, I think realistically around, if we finish 14th, 15th, but if we're pushing up the table more than down, because you have your moments throughout the season. So for example, you might be pushing for the 10th, then you lose 3 or 4 games and you end up. So if we have that type of season where we're pushing for 10th and we finish 14th, 15th, I think that'd be a solid season because the players need to adapt to it. They had Roy Hodgson for 4 years and literally all they were told was to defend. Our striker, Benteke, was a defensive striker, as crazy as it might sound. So all these players need to go and adapt to Patrick Vieira. So if we finish 14th, 15th and try bring in a couple more players maybe next season, I think that is a good start to the rebuild. You don't want to get carried away with it. There'll be lots of ups and downs, and you have to be realistic as well. So mid-table will be solid. You don't want to have expectations and just be disappointed, and you don't want to say, oh, we should just stay up. I feel like this squad is good enough to do more than just stay up. That's why we didn't want Roy Hodgson here, because we didn't feel like he could bring us to the next level. So Patrick Vieira is bringing in players. He's got some solid players. If he finished 14th, 15th with these group of players, then that should be a good season, hopefully.
Yeah,
I agree. I totally agree
with you. Yep, 100%. Quickly, because we are sort of run out of time. Your player to watch this season?
Player to watch this season, it depends on who comes in fit, because we've got a couple of new players that it could be interesting. I think Olise, he's a player to watch once he's fit. And also Wilfried Zaha. He did score 10, 11 goals under Roy Hodgson last year, but this year he's had just way more attacking duties. You can see Vieira hasn't really told him to go back and track back and defend. So if Wilfried Zaha's got that freedom out wide to go and beat them players, get a couple of assists, couple of goals, I feel like this could be a very good season for him. And also he wants to prove himself, and it seemed like he's finally happy playing football, which he didn't seem like he was for the last 3 to 4 years. So hopefully Wilfried Zaha, but the underrated, under the radar player, Olise or Eze, one of them two, because I feel like they could get assists and goals in the Premier League.
I can already tell you, Marco, he's going to be your player. I can tell you that.
He's going to be great for us. He's going to be great. And people, Chelsea fans know about him. Olise, he was at Reading. Some people might not know much about him. He's a bit of a even though if you watch a football, you will know, for the casuals, they might not know exactly. There is a player coming from Reading for £8 million for some people. Whereas Mark Guire, he was playing at Chelsea, so they've got a massive fan base. So yeah, under the radar will be like Olise and Eze type of players. I feel like they could have a great season if we play the football that we played in pre-season.
Watch this space.
Here we go. I like that.
Yeah, hopefully watch this space.
Yeah, best of luck for this season. Do you want to have a couple of seconds or so to plug your
He's only letting you have a couple of seconds.
Yeah, just a couple of seconds. Look, thank you for having me on. If you want to hear more Palace stuff, watch more Palace stuff, search back of the nest on Twitter, on YouTube, on all the social media channels, and you'll be able to find us there. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be way more positive this season than we were last season.
Amazing.
Diyar, thank you for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. And thank you guys for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with yet another season preview. The grind
once again
stop, Al, does it?
We don't know who it is. It doesn't stop. It's a surprise for us.
It could be anyone. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Enjoy the rest of your day / evening / night, whenever you're listening. And we'll catch up with you soon. You'll hear us soon. Ta-ra.
Take care.